Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So a lot of crazy moves happening over the last few weeks. A lot of the meme stocks coming alive, a lot of heavily shorted names coming alive, and there's been a lot of really substantial overnight gaps, right? So that's good, right? I mean, it's always great to come into a position that has moved significantly in your favor overnight, right? I mean, that's a nice way to start the day. However, it can make for some tricky situations, especially in terms of like timing of like when to get involved on options, right? So um, when I write up the option trade ideas that go out in the nightly letters, right? Those are ideas based off of what the stock did that day, how it looks, right? And then really like the trade revolves around getting into it the following day during the morning. So like right now in this environment, I mean a lot can change overnight, right? Like I mean stock can close it can close nicely and the next day be up like 20, 30, 40, 50%. I mean, we've seen it happen on so many different stocks over the last 2 to 3 weeks. So it can be a little bit trickier in terms of like swing trading and like the entrances, right? And I just wanted to like quickly go over like one of like my rules when it comes to whether or not I want to like get into something even if it's moved, right? So I do have like a rule on how I approach that. So root, all right. I thought this was like an interesting trade idea, right? I knew that the short interest was elevated, and I mean up until yesterday, I mean it was moving up a little bit, right? But it wasn't enough to really get me all that interested in like the overall pattern because it was just kind of like ticking up and it wasn't really like too lively and the volume wasn't that great. But there was potential, and to me, it was at the 50 day. Um, because the 50 day basically lined up so that you can see right here, downtrend, right? Just like a several month downtrend. Plus the 50 day was kind of like the last line in the sand. So when I get rid of the downtrend, you can see what I mean. The 50 day is the black line, so that's the last line in the sand. Yesterday, strong volume, right? It broke the trend, broke above the 50 day, strong close, right? So to me, like that's like a really nice setup. It's a not only was it a big technical breakout, but it was a strong finish on heavy volume, right? I always say participation is key and king and when you're looking at these types of breakouts, right? So the action in the stock was good. Also, the option volume was very elevated, right? So both good signs. Now, wanting to get involved today, the problem is that Root had a huge gap this morning, right? It gapped and it actually hit the target range for the trade before we were even able to open it. The target range was the 100 day, right? So when it broke above the 50 day, it's using the 100 day as a target range. So when the stock gapped and hit the target range before we were able to open it, that's the point where I say, okay, this is a fantastic gap. Congrats to the people that are already in it. But me not having been involved with it overnight, this is a little bit too much for me to want to step in. Okay, like I don't want to chase it after the move because it's already hit the target of the trade. It basically did what I wanted, and I haven't even been able to get involved. Right, so that's one of like my rules when it comes to swing trades. Like, okay, if it moves like a little bit overnight, but still hasn't hit that target, still has an interesting risk reward, then I don't mind paying up a little bit more for the options. But when it gaps significantly and it already hits that initial target range and the options are through the roof, totally different story, right? Like then I'm like, okay, the trade's played, the trade's played out. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get involved, did what I wanted to, but obviously didn't capitalize. So just wait for a new setup. There'll be other trades, there'll be a lot of other opportunities, and I don't want to put myself in a bad position by like chasing something higher just because I'm upset I missed it. Because that just could compound the situation. And say if it rolls over and you start losing money on after chasing it, then it just it puts you into like a bad mental state. And I'd rather just sit it out, let it do its thing, look for a different setup on the stock, or look for a different setup on a different stock. Maybe just wait for this to settle and revisit it in a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever. Right. Uh, so it works both ways. I mean, if it was on the downside, same idea. Like I, 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 I just really don't want to get in the habit of chasing things. And if they gap significantly overnight, then I reevaluate them that morning. All right. So sad to see it go, but there'll be other opportunities. I'm sure. I mean, things are flying around. Lots of stocks are moving, so there'll be a lot to do. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about swing trading with options and some of these patterns that I'm looking for and like why I target the contracts I do, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. Hope you have a wonderful night. Stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.